Hey, I'm Chris Youngblood, and you're watching Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR.
It's the fastest, most unpredictable speedway on Earth.
Iron made this place. Mined, smelted, forged. And every spring, we gather round and celebrate. Iron sharpening iron.
Oh, he gets tattooed!
But in order to take it all home, you need nerves of steel. The big one is back. Get your tickets now at TalladegaSuperspeedway.com.
Roll Tide and welcome to this Thursday edition of Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. This is Roger Hoover. Great to be with you from our studios in Tuscaloosa before I hit the road with the Crimson Tide baseball team this weekend to College Station for the start of SEC play. We've got our men's basketball crew in Nashville. Our softball crew will be at home in Tuscaloosa as we have a very busy weekend coming up that we'll get to in just a moment. We're going to start our show by taking a look at what's coming up on the program and our headlines thanks to our friends RJ Young. RJ Young is the official technology solutions provider of Crimson Drive. They've given us the smart board to go through everything in a very interactive way today. We will start with a one-of-a-kind podcast interview with Brennen Norton, the second baseman for the Crimson Tide baseball team. We'll recap first month of the year for Alabama baseball, preview what's coming up in SEC play, and just give us thoughts on a little bit of everything coming up from the Crimson Tide clubhouse leader, you could say, Brennen Norton. Then we'll have a conversation with Blake Byler of On3 Sports and BamaOnLine. He has been covering this men's basketball team all throughout the season. He gives us thoughts to be optimistic and some things to keep in mind for Nate Oates and the Crimson Tide getting ready for the SEC tournament and the NCAA tournament. The last time we saw Alabama, it was a buzzer-beating win in overtime by Mark Sears against Auburn, and Mark Sears joined us on Monday's edition of Hey Coach, presented by Alpha Insurance. We'll replay his conversation with Chris Stewart about the game winner and what's ahead in tournament time for Alabama. We start with the men's basketball team for good reason. That thrilling victory, 93-91 at Auburn, really one of the games of the year, and what a difference a week makes in the end-of-game situation we saw at Auburn compared to a week ago at Tennessee. So a great win for the Crimson Tide down at Neville Arena. Mark Sears not only got the game winner, but also more accolades from the Southeastern Conference. He was named to the first-team All-SEC team. Congratulations to him on that, plus LeBaron Philon, all-freshman team in the SEC this season. Now coming up tomorrow, it will be Alabama playing in the SEC tournament as the number 3 seed for the tournament, playing the late game coming up in Nashville. So we look forward to that. Hopefully a trip to the semifinals on Saturday and the championship game coming up on Sunday. Taking a look at the Crimson Tide on the diamond, the softball team last weekend hosted the spring break showdown against Iowa and Louisiana. Crimson Tide going 3-1 in that event. They also picked up a midweek win earlier this week at South Alabama on Tuesday in Mobile. Now this weekend, the start of SEC play in softball as Alabama will be hosting Mississippi State coming up Friday through Sunday at Rhodes Stadium. Baseball team over the weekend suffered its first loss of the year to Presbyterian on Sunday, but a 16-0 start for Alabama. That's the best start to a season in program history. Also matches the longest winning streak in Alabama baseball history. Crimson Tide bounced back very nicely with a 6-3 win. Dramatic victory on Tuesday against UAB in downtown Birmingham at Regions Field. So some good momentum for Rob Vaughn and the Crimson Tide getting ready for this weekend, taking on Texas A&M and what will be a top 20 showdown to begin conference play. 10 grueling weekends of baseball ahead, as we'll detail with Brennen Norton coming up in a moment. For Alabama gymnastics, as we take a look at some of our athletics headlines this past week, held senior night against Florida. Some good results there for the Crimson Tide, as well as Sunday's Elevate the Stage in Huntsville and that quad meet. Coming up on Saturday, the Crimson Tide going to Ann Arbor, Michigan to take on the Wolverines, coming up at 5 p.m. Remember, that's on Saturday, not on its traditional night on Friday. Men's golf team played well at the Haight, finishing third place in that event at an outstanding course. And now this Sunday, of course, the Selection Sunday for men's basketball and women's basketball to the NCAA tournament. Selection show for the men's bracket will be revealed coming up at 5 p.m. and then at 7 o'clock for the women's. The men's show on CBS and the women's show at 7 on ESPN. So we look forward to next week previewing the first and second rounds of the NCAA tournament for both Alabama men's and women's basketball. But we're going to start this show by talking some baseball and talking with Brennen Norton, who is in only his first year as a member of the Alabama Crimson Tide, transferring over from Jacksonville State. He talks about that transition as well as everything going on with this baseball team as we get ready for the start of SEC play. Here's our conversation with Brennen Norton. Welcome back to Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. We're coming to you from the Advantage Center at our podcast studio at Saban Field. Roger Hoover now pleased to be joined by Alabama baseball infielder Brennen Norton, who has taken over, starting a second baseman spot for the Crimson Tide the last few weeks. And Brennen, first of all, Roll Tide. How are you enjoying this year here in Crimson as opposed to JSU Red?
It's actually really cool just because, you get to represent your state and just being able to be with this team just because it means so much to us, and we got like a mixture of kind of a little bit of everything because we have great pitching, hitting has been phenomenal, fielding's been great, so I think just kind of this team has made it a lot more enjoyable just because of the dudes that I'm around, and like no matter what, if I'm having a bad day they're going to pick me up, and if they're having a bad day I'm going to be there to pick them up. So it's just kind of that perfect balance of team chemistry and just kind of having that almost like reject feel to us because like we love this game and we play really hard and we love it.
Alabama off to a 17-1 start as we talk, getting ready for the Texas A&M series. Did you see a start like this building from the fall with all the hard work you guys have been putting in?
I did, for sure, just because I knew we had the right pieces. It was just how are we going to like put them together. So I kind of saw it from the get-go just because I could tell everyone was like kind of on board with that, hey, we're going to be tougher than everyone mentality. And so even from the fall, just how hard we worked and how much time we put in and everything we did kind of led up to this. So to me, it's not like I kind of felt like this was going to happen. And I know we still have a lot, like long ways to go, but I think this is like the perfect timing of everything kind of coming together, and pitching doing great, throwing shutouts, and then hitting just doing our job. Runners in scoring position, we get them in. So yeah, it's been a really good start to the year for Alabama, and we'll focus on this season for a few more moments. Looking back to opening weekend, we knew what the kind of rotation was going to be around second base. You would be there some. You could also play some third. Garrett Staten could play as well, but he gets injured in the first midweek game that Alabama has. What was your response once you saw that injury and then taking over that role as he continues to work his way back and just getting that extra playing time as opposed to maybe rotating in and out some of the lineup? What's that meant? Obviously that's not what you want to see. Like being Garrett, I love Garrett, and so like that was kind of tough for me, but at the same time, I got to get past it, step up and just do my job while I have the time. And so while he's being one of the best teammates ever, I just got to get out there and be confident in what I do and trust the work that we all put in the fall. And so it's been great. I love hitting. So, being able to hit every day is kind of cool. But like I said, it's kind of bad to see a teammate go down like that. But at the same time, you just got to step up.
And you certainly have some huge hits, some home runs, even going back to Jacksonville, the Ohio State comeback. What have been some of your favorite moments early in this season?
Definitely I think every day is awesome just because I get to be with these guys around me. But I would say the most memorable one was obviously Ohio State because I've actually never been a part of a game like that. And just like backs against the wall, Coach Vaughn huddled us up and basically told us like they're stressing right now because they know that our offense isn't doing what it's supposed to be doing. And so just having that like trust in each other was really cool. That's when I was like, all right, we're really, really good because we just had so many unselfish at-bats and just, being able to do that was actually crazy because like I said, I've never been a part of a game like that. And so just having trust in each other. So, like, go make the Ohio State game. I like to say get out of the boat means, have faith in each other, basically. And so, like, being able to have faith down 10-0 in each other is, like, pretty special to me. So that was kind of my highlight of the season so far.
Yeah, you're down 10-0, and then you're able to work your way back in that ball game. LeBron, a couple of huge home runs, and then Big Doe, Will Hoda with the walk-off home run. I mean, just how exhilarating was that celebration, especially in your career? Have you ever experienced anything like that?
I have not. That's actually, like I said, been one of the craziest games I've been a part of just because of who all stepped up. You got Bold. I mean, he took like 5 walks that game or something crazy. And then, of course, LeBron being LeBron hits 2 3-run jacks. And so that's everyday LeBron stuff. So, and then Big Doe, I feel like it couldn't have happened to a better person because I was actually telling Cade when I was on deck, I was like, I feel like this is just right, like for him. Because, I mean, he does everything right. He's a great human. Shout out to Will Hoda. So, like, I don't think it could have happened more perfectly to a better group of guys and to a better human. So, that was pretty cool just kind of watching it, like, straight from the on-deck circle.
Yeah, great moment for the Crimson Tide. And for you, you've had a couple of moments as well, 2 games against your former team, Jacksonville State. What's that been like going up against them, not only here in Tuscaloosa, but last week we were on the road in the Dust Bowl setting over there at Rudy Abbott Field?
That Dust Bowl was actually one of the craziest games I've ever been a part of. Also, just because of how hard the wind was blowing and the fact that you could hardly see at the plate because of how dusty it was. But I'm not gonna lie, when they played at our place, it was a little stressful just because, I mean, you're gonna get that. Same thing with, like, Cade was telling me, like, before the game, like, hey, just don't make it bigger than it is, because I tried to last year, and just keep being you, don't change anything. And so it was a little stressful just because, you know, I mean I was there for 3 years. It wasn't like I was 1 and out. So it's just kind of built up emotion, and then finally with first pitch, it was just like everything went away. I was playing the game, not the opposing team. So that's kind of how I felt about it.
And now you got those out of the way too.
Yeah.
You got to focus on the rest of the year at this point, right?
For sure.
Well, that's good. Well, again, you started your baseball career at Jacksonville State. Let's back it up just a little bit. Tell us where you're from.
I'm from Coleman, Alabama. It's about an hour and 30 minutes northeast of here. So it's not a bad drive.
Yeah, not a bad drive at all. We've seen a lot of Alabama, not only baseball players, but athletes from all sports come to Tuscaloosa for sports. Do you remember some of the guys and girls you grew up with that eventually made their way here?
I know a few, like, older ones, like, of course, Ben Moore, Colby Robinson, Noah Fonzer came here for like a semester. I remember him. And then weird enough, I know a cheerleader that goes here. We dated in middle school, but yeah, I know a cheerleader here, Ashton Story. But I think that's all I remember, to be honest.
I got you. Well, yeah, but does that put college stuff maybe a little more on your radar? Like knowing, like, all right, people are going to the same high school I am, having the same experiences, and then they're able to go college ball like that?
Yeah. Kinda. I'm having struggle with that question. Can you rephrase it?
No,
again?
it's all good. It's just like seeing people make it, went to the same high school you did, like, a guy like Colby Robinson, when he comes here, does that make you think like, all right, I'm doing similar things? Does this give me a path a little bit?
So, yeah, it gives me a little bit of more confidence. Be like, oh, if he can do it, I can do it. And so, yeah. But then again, it's like, never see yourself in this spot, kind of. So it's kind of like a dream come true, but also like in the back of your head, you're like, oh, well, I worked my whole life for this, so you enjoy it. So yeah, I think that just kind of I hope this tells other people, like, hey, it doesn't matter what your path is. I mean, you could still go to somewhere big, and you can go somewhere and be successful too.
Yeah, it certainly does. And then for you, was baseball your top sport always growing up, or did you have some other ones you liked?
No, I was actually a Pee Wee football All-American. Not really, but if there was All-American awards, I probably would have got it. Yeah, my whole life, it was up until like 8th grade, it was football. Because, of course, I was this size in 5th grade, so, like, I was like Marshawn Lynch out there just running through people. Like, that's just how it was. I dreamed, I mean, all I thought about was football. And then people started growing, so I was like, I don't think this is for me. I mean, when the dude across from me is about 6'2" and 230 pounds in 8th grade. I think I'm gonna stick to baseball. And so yeah, in 8th grade, I actually signed up for 9th grade football, and then the day before spring training, I was like, yeah, I don't think I can do this. So then I didn't quit. I just walked away. I walked away from football, and so then I just stuck to baseball. And then ever since then, I was like, I mean, I think I do have a shot to be really good. So I just kind of ran with it.
Who are some of the coaches that helped you out the most in baseball?
For sure, Coach Brent Patterson. I still talk to him every day, and he's the head coach there. Shannon Fondren helped me with my pitching. Wasn't the best, but I got the job done. I threw strikes. Of course, like Jonathan Romine, he's another assistant coach. Of course, my dad, because you know how dads are. I actually just got a paragraph text last night about about hitting, so he's still on the ropes about that. And for sure, Manny Maniscalco, he's from Oxford. He was my travel ball coach. He kind of helped me get to where I needed to be, and so he made tons of phone calls for me, and I really appreciate him for that. And also Coach Patterson, he sent hundreds of emails and phone calls just for me to try to get somewhere I want to be. And I would say, I mean, there's a bunch more in my life, but I think those are the main ones.
How good was your travel ball experience? Have you seen some guys, even in college baseball, that you competed against at that level?
So I didn't play much travel ball. Like the whole travel ball thing kind of isn't for me, because I like being like a close knit group, and I like doing something special with people that I know and like actually hang out with. But I do got to say, when I played with Excel COVID summer, because I needed to play, like we played 10, 11 games my junior year. So then you take a 2-month break, and like, I mean, you got to play. So went to, or actually I started in the fall of 2019. Started playing with Excel, loved it. And so then the COVID summer, I started playing with them. And of course, we played great competition. I loved them, and I actually liked the team. So like, it didn't feel like a travel ball type of team. It kind of felt like a high school. And so funny, like I played, like last night, Wesley Helms, I played with him. Played with the guy that goes to Huntington and a few other guys that went to Auburn. And then I'm pretty sure it was my first game of the summer. That summer we were playing in Lake Point, and we played this team. It's called the Tri-State Arsenal, and this 6'8" long, lanky outfielder comes up to the plate. And I'm like, who is that? And then he proceeded. I think he hit 2 bombs that game. Turns out it was James Wood that plays with the Nationals now. And so like, I was shaking his hand after the game, and his hands were unbelievable. He swallowed I think he could have picked me up with his hand and held me like a basketball. And then funny enough, fast forward to my senior year with Coleman, we're playing IMG. They're in that like top 25 showdown tournament or whatever, and of course he's on there, hits 2 home runs, and it's unbelievable. And then I asked him, like, you remember playing Excel during the summer, knowing that he wouldn't know. And he was like, no. I was like, all right, well, appreciate you. You have fun in the drafts. Go get drafts, get a lot of money, and have fun with it. So yeah, but I think that's the main one that stood out was James Wood, just because I mean, he's a freak of nature. So
yeah, how did you mentioned the COVID summer? How did COVID affect your recruiting?
It affected me pretty good bit, just because, but also at the same time, it kind of opened doors because everyone was playing travel ball, and all the coaches didn't have a season, so they're going to tournaments. So I would say it was kind of good and bad at the same time. Good, I mean, obviously bad because of what happened and losing season and the whole shabacle. But I think it was good just because, like I said, it opened so many doors for me and also my other teammates, because coaches didn't have anything to do. Like I think there was hardly any like collegiate summer ball. So I think just having that ability to literally go play 7 days a week almost opened a lot of doors for me and a lot of other people. So I think it was worse for the seniors in front of me, just because like the people who wasn't signed or whatever, and was trying to sign during the season or whatever. I think that it was worse for them, but it affected me, but not, or my class, but not anything crazy.
And so for you, you make the decision to sign with Jacksonville State. Kind of what allowed them to separate from the rest of the pack teams you were talking to around that time?
Just kind of the people there. It was kind of between them and South Alabama, and I just chose Jacksonville State just because I felt like I really, really liked Coach Evan Bush. He's at Southeastern Louisiana now. And I really liked that whole coaching staff, just kind of old school feel, like nothing pretty. Like you're just going to get out there and play ball. Like you don't need all the, all the gear and stuff. Like gear's cool, but like we're here to play ball. And so I think that's what I liked about them so much.
And then how did you start to work your way in the lineup once you got there and made that transition from high school baseball or travel ball to playing college baseball?
Honestly, I just kind of went out there and did what I normally do. I mean, I didn't try to make anything crazy of it. Like I knew who I was and what kind of player I was. So I just told myself if I played the way I normally play and just have fun with it, and if I don't play, then I'll be the best teammate. If I am, then I'll just do my job in the lineup. And so just kind of working my way into it was, I think, the hardest thing, because coming from high school, it's completely different. Like their arms in the bullpen that are 89, 92, when in high school, the bullpens were like 78, 81. So like I think I adjusted a lot quicker just because I had a lot of old guys around me and mature guys that would like kind of speak life into me and give me like pointers and tips on like how to just play, not play like a freshman, but just play like a collegiate baseball player. And so, you got Carson Crow, he's from here. He helped me out a lot. Cole Frederick's from here. He helped me out a lot. And we called him Nancy. He was our catcher, Nancy Kerrigan. He was one of the smartest people I've ever met in my life. Numbers guy. He was also number one in Madden. Like number one player in Madden for like years. Like I remember one time he missed practice for a Madden tournament. If he
missed practice.
Yeah, and he coordinated with coach and whatever. And so coach was like, "Yeah, well, how much money are you going to make?" And he was like, "I think it's around $500,000." And like, unfortunately, he got put out like I think third round or something. But yeah, he was like, "Well, I'll tell you what, if you win that tournament, you have to make or build us a batter's eye." So Nance was like, "Sure, yeah, I'll do it, yeah." And so, but he was probably one of the most, like, I guess, biggest people to kind of impact me there, just because of how smart he was, and also having the smarts and the baseball IQ just kind of went hand in hand. So I thought that was pretty cool.
How'd you play him in Madden? How'd you hold him? No, you stayed away?
Yeah, I'm not a big video game guy, to be honest. But yeah, I try to stay away. But I did watch him play someone online, and he beat him like 85-0. It was actually unreal.
I'm just curious about that. Do they have like a go-to play? Like, how's he doing that?
Yeah, I forgot what he told me. He said he made this play and it was perfect. It was like a screen, and I think the running back, I'm not sure, goes around it's like a hitch, and then the running back will go around, and then it's just a deep ball. And I think it worked every single time. Obviously, he's beating people 85-0, so that was pretty funny.
That's a pretty cool experience. So for you as well, Jacksonville State, not only are you playing in your own conference, did they change conferences during the time you were there as well?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I got in there my freshman and sophomore year. We were ASUN. So that's with Florida Gulf Coast. It was with Lipscomb. Liberty was in it for a little bit. Kennesaw was in it. And then last year, they switched to Conference USA. So that was with like DBU, Sam Houston, La Tech. Really good teams. It was like almost like, so in ASUN, it was kind of a hitting conference. Like everyone's just going to hit the brakes off. And so going to Conference USA, it was a lot more like pitching. It was kind of balanced. So I thought that was pretty cool that I got like to see kind of both sides of it. And then here it's like everything, defense, offense, pitching, like everything's good. So I think it's kind of cool getting to experience like a lot of different things.
Yeah, you got to see a lot of different teams. I imagine
Yeah.
the travel is pretty cool too with both leagues.
Yeah.
You got to see
Yeah.
all the Southeast.
Yeah, definitely. Like going to Florida Gulf Coast, like my sophomore year, like they were unreal. And so it was just cool. I love traveling. Like me and my roommate, his name was Derek Jackson. He was our first baseman. Shout out DJ. But like, so when we would get back to the hotel, if we go, like we played at Bellarmine, we would go to Louisville. And so we would kind of like ride around on the scooters and see everything. And like when we went to Florida Gulf Coast, we went to the beach. Me, Caleb Johnson, and Derek Jackson went to the beach and hung out and tried to get our tan on, but it was not working. we still had those mean tan lines. So.
Yeah, the baseball tan doesn't go away.
Yeah,
definitely.
never.
So for you as well, you get to compete against Alabama. What was that experience like? What do you remember about playing either at the Joe or the games in Jacksonville?
It was kind of cool just because like I said, I always felt like I was kind of like a dirtbag. Like felt like here was too like pretty boy for me. It was just crazy because I get here and it's like complete opposite. It's like this team is like the wildest team. Like we don't care. We could care less who it is, what they do. Like we don't care. And so that's what I liked. And so like playing them, I was like, oh, a bunch of pretty boys. Like we're the rejects. Like we're playing them and they didn't want us. So like let's show them like they should have wanted us. And so that's what I was like basically telling my team. Like even when we played Kentucky my freshman year, first series of the year, I told them like, yeah, these are the guys that didn't want us. Like let's go out there and let's like basically kick them in the dirt. Like they don't want us, so let's show them why. And so it was cool just because I remember it was our first midweek of the year, my freshman year. We played here. Of course, I was wearing the neon arm sleeve, neon gloves, like trying to show out, like trying to be like, hey, you should have picked me. But that's not a good way to go about it for future people that play baseball. But yeah, it was cool just because, like, you know, I felt like that. It's a hard way to put it without sounding bad, but like that coaching staff didn't really want me much. So like it's kind of cool to go back out there and play and say like, oh, well, maybe you should have. So I think, and then my sophomore year, it was 17-3, and that was a long game. Let's just say that. So, but it was cool playing here, and so it's even cooler like playing for the fans. So.
That's definitely good. So you've gotten to experience now kind of both sides of the midweek coin. You've been the mid-major team that's going to an SEC school, and now you've been part of the SEC school that gets through a tough weekend. Now you got another midweek team, so you know what the motivation's like on that other side now, right?
Yeah, definitely. Because, like, even at Jacksonville, playing Auburn, playing Bama, like the big SEC schools, those midweeks meant like everything to us. Because it was like, oh, we're going to prove that we're just as good as y'all. When, like, you know, the Auburns or Alabamas are going to be like, oh, well, we're good, and we're going to show you. Like, so it's cool, like, being able to experience both just because, like I said, like, this year I feel like we're not like that. We're good, we're going to win. They're playing their World Series right now, so we have to, like, lock in and do our job. So I think that's what's cool about it.
Yeah, it's a really good experience. Good time for you at Jacksonville State. How about summer ball the last few years? Where have you been?
So my freshman year, I went to Lima, Ohio. Shout out to Sue. That's my host mom. She was awesome. I think that's why a lot of people complain about summer ball. But I love summer ball. Like it was fun. Like you go to the middle of nowhere with a bunch of dudes that have the same thing in mind and just wake up and play baseball. No school. You're not doing school. You wake up, you play baseball, you go home, you sleep. So, like, Went to Lime, Ohio my freshman summer. Awesome. The funny thing was, sorry, Bill, but we towards the end of the season we wanted to go home so bad that we were trying to not win, and then we won. So we kept winning, and so we made it to championship game 3, and then the Hamilton Joes, man, they kicked us in that 3rd game, but we put up a fight. That's all that mattered.
Sounds like
and
the
then-
South Park Little League episode when they're trying to end this summer. That's you guys, right?
Yes, that's the actually craziest thing, because any summer ball team ever that wants to go home always starts winning when they're like, I'm over this. Like, I didn't, because that competitive nature in me was like,
Yeah.
nah, let's just ride it out and win. Like, we came here for the reason to win, like to win a championship or whatever. So let's just win. But everyone's like, dude, I just want to go home. And I was like, all right, whatever. Y'all just do that and hopefully get good juju from y'all wanting to go home. And then I went to Montpelier, Vermont this past summer, because my sophomore summer I went to Macon and just don't want to.
Making bacon?
Yeah, this long story. And then I went to play with the Vermont Mountaineers in Montpelier, Vermont, and that was one of the coolest experiences I've ever been a part of, just because I'm an hour from the Canadian border. I've never been this north in my life, and complete culture shock. Like, town, like, that was technically like one of the biggest cities in Vermont, and it was like tiny. So like
Smaller in Jacksonville?
yeah, it was I would say about like Jacksonville. And just going there, like, my host family was awesome. Like, they still text me like the other day, because I roomed with Josh Sibley from Jacksonville, and then this dude that goes to Erskine, we call him Yo-Yo. And my host family texted in our group chat that we had and sent a picture of me batting and then Sibley in the background when we were playing at Jacksonville. And so I thought that was cool. Like, they still keep up with us and text us like every other week. And like, even coming back, they gave me a bag of like goodies or whatever, and it had like maple syrup in there, maple syrup popcorn. And so like, it wasn't just like we were going there, like they just kind of stayed out, like they hung out with us. And like, my host dad played men's league baseball on every Sunday. Coolest field, no fences. The dugouts were just kind of run down, but like live pitchers. Like, he's 50 years old and he's throwing like hard. I would say he was like probably 80 to 84. Like,
wow.
he was chunking it. And so going to watch that was pretty cool. Just seeing a bunch of old dudes, you know, having fun with it, you know, drinking during a men's league. And so I thought that was pretty cool. Really cool experience. I highly suggest going to summer ball.
Yeah, that's really good experiences for you. And now you get that we talked about the mid-major experience, Jacksonville State. Go in the transfer portal after 3 good years there, and then you sign with Alabama. First of all, what was that portal experience like for you? Did you hear from a lot of teams?
I did. It was actually wild, just because, you know, just you get a lot of texts, a lot of phone calls, and like, it was a little different. Like, mine wasn't like a blowing up, like if Justin LeBron got in the portal or something, it'd be just over and over and over. But I did get phone calls and met a lot of great coaches, met a lot of good dudes. But I just felt like here was right, just because I didn't commit until like a day after the draft maybe. And so it was also kind of stressful, just because going up to summer ball and not being able to go to like visits or whatever. Like, I'm not the one to go to a visit and do that media day and have the photo shoot. Like, I don't care. Like, just like, tell me who you are and like kind of what y'all represent, and like, we'll go from there. I don't need all the pretty lights and all that. And so going to summer ball is just kind of frustrating, because like, everything outside of baseball was like awesome, but like, when you're stressing about like you don't have a school, like you don't know where you're going, and you're trying to play baseball with that, it's just kind of tough. But that's also where that kind of mental edge comes in. Like, hey, just focus on today, play the game today, and then everything else will figure itself out. And so, yeah, I got on a phone call. I think it was July the 4th with Coach Vaughn, and we just kind of chatted it up. And I was like, yeah, just basically give me a shot. Like, kind of everything fell through. Because I was actually going to go to Kansas or UCF, and then Coach Vaughn called, and I was like, well, that's a lot better drive for my parents, so that'd be cool if I could, represent the state and come here. So got on a phone call with him, was just chatting, just like kind of getting to know each other. And by the phone call, I think he loved me just because I was like, just give me a shot. Like, I'm willing to bet on myself. Like, I don't care. Like, just let me come there in the fall. Like, if I'm not good, just tell me and I'll just be a regular student. And then if I'm good enough to be on the team, I'll just be a good teammate if I'm not good enough to play. But if I'm good enough to play, then, I'm gonna come here to do some damage. And so so we just started chatting, and like I said, I think he liked me. And hopefully he still loves me now. But yeah, I love the coaching staff. I love Coach Mo. He's one of the best recruiters ever, just because he knows how to talk to like the younger generation. Like that's how he was like kind of persuaded me. But I mean, I knew from the get go I wanted to go here over the other two. And so Coach Mo, I love Coach Pap. I didn't meet Coach Woody or Coach Mikey until I got here. But those are some of my favorite coaches ever, just because like they're so fun to be around, and just like all the coaches are like laid back, but they want what's best for you, and so that's what I really liked.
Yeah, that's really good to see. And then you make that decision, and you talked about before, you wondered, maybe I'm not Alabama material, this polished, pretty boy type image. But then I imagine pretty quickly, once you got to meet some of your teammates, get to work in the fall, you realized that, yes, this is a very blue collar team.
Yes, it's very, very blue collar. And I think just like how we worked, how we went about our business was like was an eye opening of like, oh, well, this team is different. It's not like every SEC school that I've ever thought of being like, oh, everything's handed to them. They get like all this cool gear and like they don't have to worry about anything. Well, like obviously like we get treated amazing, but like we don't expect those things. Like it's the difference between getting it and expecting it. So like we don't expect all the pretty lights and all the cool gear. Like we don't care. We want to win ball games. Like that's what I like to call grit. So just win ball games and you'll get incentive later. So
yeah, that's really good. And Coach Vaughn talks about grit all the time. The ownership, toughness, grit. I mean, I'm sure that's been beaten into you.
For sure.
Cade Snell ends up being voted on as the captain for this team. What do you think your teammates realized in him, or you saw in him, to allow him to be the captain this year?
I mean, it was kind of obvious, just because, I mean, like last night, he was feeling awful. I don't know if anyone could tell, but he had a little too much Shake Shack, and he was not. He was not the normal Cade Snell, let me tell you. And so he was in the dugout, like squatting down, like it looked like he was about to throw up everywhere. And so him full-fledged Superman diving for a ball while Shake Shack is still in his throat is actually, it's beyond me. And so like that's the kind of stuff like it's pretty obvious that he's our guy, he's our cap. And so and like even we had a scrimmage late January, dove back into the bag. He was at first, like popped his finger out of place, and then bang, right back in place. So I think that's kind of the obvious, just because kind of his path and like what he's been through. I think he's like one of the most deserving people on the team, obviously, just because how hard he's worked, what he's been through, and just like even last year with his back deal. Just kind of working through that and still managing to put up a great year. I think it was kind of just like it's obvious.
Yeah, Coach Vaughn talks about, the Tallahassee Regional looked like Cade could barely move in the dugout, then goes out, hits a home run. Like you mentioned, a little too much Shake Shack, and all of a sudden he's able to get that diving catch
He
and
was,
a 2-run homer.
Yeah, he was. I got back to the dugout after that, and I was like, "Yeah, flu game, Cade, flu game." He's like, "I'm about to throw up."
He didn't want to hear it.
Yeah, I was like, well, at first, because he wasn't being normal Cade. It was like the second inning, and he's bent over by the rail, like begging for life, like praying that something does not come out of his stomach. And so I was like, "Hey, Cade, you good?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm good." I was like, "You don't look good, brother." And so then I went to ask, I think it was Bryce. I was like, "What's wrong with Cade? He's about to die over there." He was like, "He had too much Shake Shack." And I was like, "Well, yep, that'll do it to you." And so, yeah, that was one of the wildest things I've ever seen in my life.
Story behind the UAB win right there from Brennen Norton.
Oh, yeah.
That's really good. Well, even Coach Vaughn, we talked about Cade being a leader. He's talked about you being a leader, and especially your first year in this program and somebody that keeps everybody loose. How do you feel like you keep that clubhouse and dugout loose during ball games?
Yeah, so, I've been compared to Kevin Millar a lot, and so just kind of having that little flair and, like, not care about me. Like, I don't care what anyone thinks. Like, I dyed my hair pink in the fall. I mean, it's for breast cancer, but, like, dyeing my hair pink, like, really? Who cares? Like, when I get a job, I'm not going to be able to do it. So why not just have a little fun now? Like when I'm working, I can't be doing that. So like, why not get it out now? My mom wasn't too happy. Sorry about that, Mom. And my dad was just. My
Just
dad.
like that's Brennen at this point. I mean, nothing probably surprised.
Well, actually, it was kind of the opposite. My mom was like, "Again, really?" Because I did it last year during the season too. And then my dad was like. He started shaking my head when he saw it. And so, I think just because Cade's more of the vocal leader, I think I'm more of like the actions leader because, like, I may be hurting, I may be yelling a lot, like saying goofy stuff on the field, but like when it comes down to it, I'm like gonna lock in and do what I need to do to, help the team out. And so, I mean, that's cool. I mean, being kind of one of the leaders on the SEC team is awesome just because, everyone kind of looks to you. And so I think that's like a dream come true. But like I said, yeah, I like keeping people loose. Like no one's good when they're playing uptight. So like being able to be that guy on the team that's kind of dancing in the dugout and making up the celebrations and stuff. Like I think that's awesome. So like I think that's what we've kind of embraced is like having fun and not caring. Like who cares? It's a game. Like we're just a speck of dust in the middle of the universe. Like who actually cares? So
it's getting really deep.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it is, but like, who cares? Like, no one really cares.
Oh, that's good. Well, fans do care about celebrations, and there have been some good ones for all the home runs. Kind of explain the different celebrations we're seeing, because it is a little bit different than what we've seen from Alabama baseball the last few years.
I think yes, I made the home run celebration, and it just kind of dawned upon me because I can't tell why because we are on camera, but I just started doing it during the spring when I hit a home run, and of course I'll wave out to the Ragers and do that. I got that from Marcelo Zuna actually because he'll wave to the chop house, spin it around, and then fly. I don't know why. I think I'm good with not knowing why. So I just started doing that, and then the home run celly, I just kind of happened. And so everyone loved it, and so we just kind of ran with it. But like the double celly, that actually came from G-Stat. He would always do that. And so, but I mean, I like doing the, the Shakira hips don't lie double celly because it's funny. So, but yeah, G-Stat came up with the double celly.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's really good. And you're going to celebrate a lot of Justin LeBron home runs. I mean, just
A
you get to
lot.
play next to him, at second base and shortstop. Just what do you see from this guy only as a sophomore?
I mean, everyone sees the success and, of course, the home runs and doubles and 100 RBIs before league play. But, I mean, it's just cool to watch him, like, just kind of go about his business every day because it's actually crazy because he's made me better even though I'm at second base. Like, he's at short, obviously, but he's made me better even though I'm 40 feet from him. So that's just – it's cool being able to play beside a guy like that, knowing his future's really, really bright. And so and also being able to kind of, like, get to know him and, like, find out his personality. And even I think even Coach Vaughn said that, like, he didn't, like, have this much fun last year. And so I think me just kind of, like, joking with him and in between innings, kind of punching him before we go back to our positions, just kind of reminding him, hey, like, let loose, have a little fun. Like, it's just cool being beside a guy like that and being able to kind of impact him and him impact me at the same time. And, like, also him impact the whole team just because of how hard he works. And, like, people see that and think, oh, well, that's the reason why he's hitting 11 bombs or having 50 RBIs. So I think just being able to play beside a guy like that is, like, really, really special.
That really is cool. As we start to wrap things up, obviously, hopefully a great season coming up for you for the Crimson Tide. Pro Bowl time after that. Then after that, what do you think's next for Brennen Norton?
I really want to be a hitting coach anywhere. Like, but also, like, my dream is also kind of play in Japan. That'd be really cool because I've always had a weird obsession with Japan because it's a cool place. And but I would like to be a hitting coach, or I have a lot of plans, actually. I don't know because I can draw, which is weird. So, like, I would like to be a tattoo artist, but my parents don't want that.
How many tattoos do you have?
I have a lot. Yeah,
Do you have a number or
I'm
no?
covered. I stopped counting.
You're beyond that.
Yeah,
now.
I'm beyond that. I promise. I heard it from my parents. So, yeah, she wasn't very happy when a month later I showed up with a sleeve. She was like, "What did you just do?" She's trying to scrub it off. But yeah, I want to be like a hitting coach in, like, the minors or, like, something like Pap, like, just be a hitting coach in college. Or I'd like to, like, take a head coach job at, like, a junior college or something. Or when Coach Brent Patterson at Coleman retires, maybe take that job because, I mean, there you have all the resources. It's phenomenal. So I really don't know what I want to do, but I just know I just want to make an impact on people. That's all.
Well, we look forward to seeing what happens next for Brennen Norton. Best of luck coming up this weekend in College Station, and we look forward to checking with you again. Thank you for your time. Roll Tide.
Appreciate it. Roll Tide.
Alabama racing is back. Don't miss the opportunity to experience the NASCAR Cup Series at Talladega. Witness the return of racing on April 27th and be a part of NASCAR's biggest and baddest track. From the blistering speed on the track to the unparalleled fan access of the Talladega Garage experience, there's something for everyone to enjoy. Tickets are on sale now. Secure your seats today at TalladegaSuperspeedway.com. A really fun conversation with Brennen Norton. I look forward to visiting with more members of the baseball team and the softball team over the next few weeks as we continue getting deeper into spring sports, but still the winter sports on center stage, especially this weekend for men's basketball with the SEC tournament in Nashville. Blake Byler covers Alabama men's basketball as well as anybody on the beat for On3 Sports and BamaOnLine. He joins us to detail what's ahead for Nate Oates and the Crimson Tide, not just this weekend in Nashville, but coming up in March Madness.
Blake, first of all, it's just great to have you with us. How much do you love this time of the year as we look at the SEC tournament and get ready for March Madness?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Roger. I think this is one of my favorite times of the year. I think it's so exciting to see. There's so much basketball on all the time. I mean, starting today, we're going to have games starting at like 10 or 11 a.m. and going until, we're ready to go to sleep. So as a basketball fan, that's really exciting for me. And then from the SEC standpoint, specifically this year, I mean, there's no better event to be a basketball fan or a fan of an SEC basketball team because there's so many teams this year that are good and so many teams that are going to be competing for national titles, Final Fours, and 14 of the 16 teams have a good shot of going to the NCAA tournament, which is kind of unheard of. So you have a conference that's been better than we've ever seen in basketball, and you have them all gathered in one place, playing each other. Every game is interesting to me. Every game has something that you can be watching for. So, I mean, it's a great time of year, a great time to be, a great year to be an SEC basketball fan this season, and happy for the people that are up in Nashville and able to come see some of these games.
Certainly excited about what's ahead for Alabama, not just this weekend, but coming up in March Madness. Let's just take an overall look at this season. Alabama entering this tournament, getting the double bye, potentially a 1 or a 2 seed for the NCAA tournament. Is this about where you expected this team to be, even going back to some of the early season projections we had back in November?
You know, I did. I thought an SEC regular season title was possible. I never had that as an expectation, so to speak, because I think that's a hard burden to put on any team. But really, before the season, I said, you know, I expect them to be around the double bye, around maybe 13-5, 14-4 in the league. And that was even before I knew how good this league was going to be, before any of us knew. So for them to be 13-5, I think that's around meeting expectations, so to speak. Some fans may be disappointed that they didn't win the regular season title, but I'm sure a lot of those fans also didn't expect Auburn to be as good as they were throughout this entire season and to be the number 1 team for a good chunk of conference play. So I think the way that they've performed, also you got to factor in some of the injuries that Alabama has had to deal with. I'm sure if you went into this season knowing that they weren't going to have Latrell Wrightsell for the last 80% of the season, if they knew a 5-star freshman in Darion Reed was going to be kind of off and on and not available for the majority of conference play, that might have changed some people's expectations. So I know some Alabama fans maybe wanted more than the 3 seed here in Nashville, but I don't think it's a disappointment by any means. It's been a great SEC conference this season, like I've already said, going 13-5 in that league. That's no small feat. That's something that's difficult to do. They have a lot of really good wins. They have one of the best resumes in the country, and they find themselves in a pretty good spot here in Nashville with a chance to make a run and win an SEC tournament, and also setting themselves up for a really good seed in the NCAA tournament starting next week.
What a difference a week makes. The tough loss with the buzzer beater against Tennessee, the week before, those last 30 seconds certainly didn't go the way Alabama wanted it to. But then you look at the Auburn game, finished it out well in the second half, and then winning in overtime on the Mark Sears buzzer beater. Does that just prove how good this team can be? The kind of dramatic swing we saw from one Saturday to the next?
Yeah, I think it does. I think a lot of people were maybe a little down on Alabama coming into this Auburn game, considering the fact that they lost 4 of their last 6 games. But a lot of those obviously were to really good teams. You have Tennessee, who's I think ranked in the top 7 or 8 in the AP poll. You lost to them on a buzzer beater, a game you really should have won. Obviously, there's no shoulds, like you either do it or you don't, but you have a 4-point lead with 30 seconds left. They probably should have won that game. And then a loss at home to a really good Florida team who I think has a really good shot at winning a national championship. And then you go before that, you had a loss to a Missouri team who's solidly in the top 20, was on fire that night, and a loss to number 1 Auburn. So you have a lot of losses to good teams, but I think that made some people think, well, Alabama's good, but maybe they're not good against elite competition, and that maybe kind of changed some people's belief. But then you go in and you go on the road to number 1, and you're able to get a win in overtime at the buzzer, kind of flipping the script on some of the late game issues that they had against Tennessee, able to actually execute in some late game situations. And I think it just reaffirms to everyone that this Alabama team is among the elite teams in college basketball. And not only do they have a lot of wins this season, but they're capable of beating really good teams. They have a win over Auburn. They have a win over Houston. That's 2 of the top 4. Those 2 are the 1 seeds that are projected in the NCAA tournament right now. So that should kind of affirm to everyone that, yes, this team is really good. And also this team can play among the elite of the elites in college basketball. And pretty much anybody on any given night, Alabama has a chance to beat. They're as good as anybody, and when they're playing at their best, they might be the best team in the country.
So now, what's the approach for Alabama for this tournament? We've seen the Crimson Tide win it a couple times under Nate Oates. Last year, one and done, and then had that great run and all the way to the Final Four. So with that kind of mindset, how is this team approaching this weekend?
They're approaching it exactly how I think you'd expect them to approach it. They're coming here to try to win it, and that's what they said And Nate Oates said it in his press conference yesterday. Mo Diabate said the same thing. And somebody asked Nate Oates, interestingly, kind of the thing you mentioned, the 2 times that they won the SEC tournament under Nate Oates, they lost early in the NCAA tournament in the Sweet 16. Then last year they lose the first game, and then they make a run to the Final Four. Nate Oates also brought up during that question that back in 2022 they lost the first game and then lost their first game in the NCAA tournament. So it's not really a 1-to-1. There's a lot of variables that kind of go with it. In the same vein, you had Auburn, I think 5 or 6 years ago, they went and won the SEC tournament, and that sparked them into a Final Four run because of the momentum that they were able to build at Nashville. So really any team should be approaching it going to win. You want to keep building momentum. You want to keep winning games, build that confidence, and that's what Alabama's doing. They're not a team that's going to be like, oh, we need to come here and maybe not try our hardest in this game, try to get some rest, get our legs back under us. Like, they're competitors. Nate Oates is a competitor. All of these players are competitors. They want to come here and win, and that's fully their intention to do this week.
What's the latest on Darion Reed? And if he is healthy and able to play for the Crimson Tide, how will he impact this team?
Yeah, I think he's been practicing, and he hasn't been going live in 5-on-5, but he's been doing basketball things in practice, according to what Nate Oates told us yesterday. And he said if he has a good practice today, he should be cleared to play this weekend in the SEC tournament, which is a big boost. I don't know if he's going to play. I don't think at all that he's going to play major minutes, just considering how long he's been out. I'm sure he's incredibly rusty. Hasn't been doing a lot of, like I said, 5-on-5 basketball things, but at the very least, it's another body that Alabama has, and we know how they've been missing guys with injury this year already, and Latrell Wrightsell and Houston Millett are both out for the year, and then you're redshirting Nas Cunningham. So you're already down 3 players of your 13-man roster, and without Darion Reed, they've been functioning on a 9-man rotation, which has been every player that they've had available throughout these last couple of weeks without Reed. So adding him, that gives rest to some of your other wings. You don't have to play Mo Diabate as many minutes. You can kind of save him for the spurts that he needs. You can give rest to guys like Chris Youngblood, the guys that play out on the wings, which is very helpful. Especially in a physical league where you might rack up a couple of fouls in this SEC tournament. Also, they're playing 3 games, or they're hoping to play 3 games in 3 days. You're going to be playing on back-to-back days. Having another body is super helpful with that, and hopefully that also gets him going a little bit and gets him more accustomed to playing more 5-on-5 and getting back in the swing of things, so that he could maybe be an even bigger impact in the NCAA tournament here next week and hopefully the week after that.
So whether it's coming up this weekend in Nashville for the SEC tournament or trying to make a deep run in March Madness, what would you tell Alabama fans would be some really reasons for optimism about this group to have a deep run?
Yeah, I think you just saw a perfect reason for optimism this past Saturday, going on the road and, like I said earlier, beating #1 Auburn. Like, they've been consistently one of the best teams in the country, maybe the best team in the country over the last couple of months, and Alabama went into their building and beat them. So that just tells you that Alabama is capable of beating any team in the country. Their defense has been trending up lately. If you look at an analytics site, Bart Torvik, he has Alabama as the 20th ranked defense over the last 3 weeks. So this is a team whose defense has struggled a little bit over the course of the season. They didn't really, they weren't playing to the level that I thought they were capable of. But you've seen in recent weeks, the defense is trending in a positive direction, which is something you want to see going into March. That's exactly what we saw last year whenever they really buckled down on the defensive end, and that kind of spurred their Final Four run. And then also, you've got Mark Sears. You've got an All-American level guard. And I've always said, and a lot of people have always said, that guards are what win you games in March. If you have a guard who can take over, that can propel you very far. And again, that's exactly what you saw last year. Mark Sears was unbelievable in the tournament. Over the last couple of weeks since he's moved off the ball, LeBaron Philon's been added to the starting lineup. He's been able to play more 2-guard rather than being the lead 1. That's really helped him. He's been more efficient from the field. So with him, with the way the defense is playing, with all of the offensive talent and weapons that you have getting healthier, with Darion Reed potentially coming back, there are tons of reasons for optimism that Alabama could win the SEC tournament this weekend and go really far in the NCAA tournament coming up.
And on the other side of the coin, what are some areas of concern for this group getting ready for March Madness?
I think the shooting has been a little volatile, and that's any team, but with this team it's tough because there have been a couple of games where you have a shooter who's not shooting to the level that they're capable of. Chris Youngblood's had a couple games. Aiden Holloway's been off the last couple of games, and he was on an insane tear throughout SEC play. But you can always run into a game or run into a team and you don't shoot super well and it's an off night and they have a great night. Like that can happen to anybody. But really, I'm more optimistic than not because of not only that, but the way this team has been able to score at the rim, not just from the 3-point line. Like this isn't a live and die by the three team. They've had tons of games where they don't make a ton of threes and they're so good on the interior, like this past Saturday, where they score a ton of points at the rim and that propels them to a win. So you could always run into a team that gets hot. You could always have a game where you don't show up, you don't play your best. But whenever this team is playing to their potential, I think they're as good as anybody, and I think that's a good reason that they'll at least be making it to the Sweet 16 and onward. Because really, in the NCAA tournament, once you get there, no one knows what's going to happen. But if you win those two games and get there, that's good, and then you can kind of build on it from there.
So your focus is certainly going to be basketball over the next few weeks, covering this Crimson Tide basketball team under Nate Oates. But of course, the football team is out on the practice field, gearing up for what's coming up on A-Day in April. You and your coworkers at BamaOnLine, what are some of the storylines you're keeping in mind as you think about Kalen DeBoer in spring practice number 2?
Well, obviously the quarterbacks are number one. I think that's on everybody's mind, but I don't think we're going to have any kind of answer throughout this spring. It's going to be a really good time for Ty Simpson, Austin Mack, and Keelan Russell to all be getting really big and important reps. And I know they're all cycling through. Everybody's working with the ones at different points. So that's going to be huge for the development of all three of those guys. I think they're all very capable. I think any of them could win the job. So that's one thing I'm watching. The other thing that's been notable is the amount of returners that this team has in their senior class. And I don't have the exact number off the top of my head, but there's a good bit of guys who could have gone to the NFL, could have left early, and chose to come back, especially on the defensive side. So you've got a lot of leaders on this team, and that's something that they've talked about as we've spoken to them throughout the first week of spring practice last week. They're on spring break this week, and then they'll be back at it again next week. But all of the older leaders that we've talked about have talked about how important it is for them to be a player-led team and how they're kind of emphasizing that and pushing that. And you've got a lot of old veteran guys who can make that happen this year. So I think that's a really exciting thing for Alabama fans because usually whenever you have a strong group of returning seniors that all want to be leaders, it results in some really good things for the football team. So they're going to be doing that and building that leadership over the course of the spring, this summer. And I'm just excited to see it, come to the football field this fall and see what this team has.
Spring practice underway in Tuscaloosa, and of course, the basketball team getting set for March Madness, the SEC tournament this weekend. Blake Byler is going to cover it all for BamaOnLine and On3. Blake, just thank you for the time you've given us here on the Crimson Tide Sports Network. Have fun in Nashville coming up this weekend. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Thanks, Roger.
Iron made this place. But in order to take it all home, you need nerves of steel. The big one is back. Get your tickets now at TalladegaSuperspeedway.com.
Last time we saw the Crimson Tide, it was Mark Sears winning it at the buzzer with not a three-pointer, but a floater in the paint. We love seeing that from Mark Sears as Alabama got that dramatic victory against top-ranked Auburn this past Saturday. And just a couple days after that buzzer-beating win for Mark Sears and the Crimson Tide, he was at Baumhower's Victory Grill in Tuscaloosa on Monday night for Hey Coach and the Nate Oates Show presented by Alpha Insurance. Here's his conversation with Chris Stewart as he details the game winner against the Tigers and looks ahead to what's coming up in tournament play for Alabama.
Good to see you, Mark Sears. How you doing, buddy?
Doing good.
Good. I guess you are. Yes, you are. Great to have you here with us. I was joking with you during the break if your back was sore from everybody patting you on the back today because, man, there were a lot of well-wishers after that one, I know.
Oh, yeah, but it's a good type of sore. I'd rather have this type of sore after we won a game than be bad sore. So
I understand. It's pretty special.
Oh, yeah, that's probably one of the best games I had under single digits. But I was able to distribute the ball very well, and I was able to get the last basket. So, that's probably one of the best games that I had, showing that I can distribute the ball.
They did a heck of a job on you, making sure you didn't get shots prior to that. But tell me about the last play. Tell me about how that was set up and what transpired.
Yeah, so I remember I was on the bench. We had made a substitution, and then I remember Broom, he had got the rebound, and he was in the corner, and he hit the three. And then I was on the bench, and they called timeout, and then we all came to the huddle. He was like, we're going to run this play. We're going to get you the ball to the left elbow, so you'll have options. You'll have either Grant, he's going to roll back to the rim, and you can hit him on the rim, or you got LeBaron on the pitch back. So, I think it was a good play call because, I was able to get back downhill to my left hand, and I seen the shot clock, and it was like 1 second left, and I was at the free throw line, so I had a good look, and I just threw it in there really fast, and once it left my hands, I knew it was going in, and then it felt good to see that arena very quiet after the game.
It was very quiet indeed. I think you've had more mid-range buckets in the last two ball games than you may have had your entire time in Tuscaloosa. You had a bunch the other night at home, and then you had that game winner the other day. It was a little bit different, wasn't it?
Yeah, for sure. I haven't thought about that, but you're right. Just the way teams have been playing us is kind of like they've been giving us that shot, and Coach tells us if it's wide open, to take it. It's just as good as a shot. As long as they contest it, then it's going to be a bad shot. But if they don't contest it, it's a good shot.
I want you to talk to me about LeBaron Philon. He was named to the all-freshman team. Congratulations to you. We talked about it last segment, how you're named first-team all-conference.
He plays with energy and passion. He can guard 1 through 4. He can run the team. He can run the point. He can distribute the ball very well. And he's a big-time player, and he really showed it in that Auburn game. And he's only going to get better for us.
We want to see you in several more games before it's done. But during the Senior Day celebration the other day, what was that like for you to realize I have played my last game in this building? Yeah. There's no doubt anymore. I think we all kind of knew you had a chance to come back if you wanted to last year, but we didn't know if you would. But now, it's done. So what was that like for you? Not the outcome, because I know that was disappointing, but just the experience of going, wow, it's done in Coleman.
Yeah, throughout that day, I tried not to think about it too much because I didn't want to get emotional or nothing like that. So, it was after the game. It came to me that I'm gonna never play in this gym again. But I'm just proud of all the memories and the moments that I was able to be a part of my 3 years here. So, it's just a surreal moment.
You've done amazing things, but you've topped it each year. Your first year, we're a #1 national seed for the first time in school history, and you were such a huge part of that. And then last year, the first Final Four in school history. I'm sure there's one more little piece you've kind of thought about.
Oh yeah,
that could be done. What would it mean to you to have a chance to get Alabama to a national championship?
Man, that would be a dream come true, especially for it to be our first national championship. We're going to do whatever it takes to get there, and I feel like we played all the best teams in the country, but besides Duke, and I feel like we're battle tested, and we're going to be well prepared come March Madness.
This team has so many new faces on it. There are a few of you that were a part of that last year, but there's a ton of new guys on there. How have you been able to build, how's the staff been able to build chemistry with you guys to get back and pick right up where last year's team seemed to leave off from?
Yeah, it started in the summer once everybody got to campus. We all greeted each other, and then it starts in practice, every practice, and obviously in the games, in the game time situations. So I feel like every game and every practice that we play, we get closer as a team, and we learn something about each other. And I feel like we're a good group of guys.
Good group of guys, fun group of guys. Who's the most fun? Forget the basketball part of it. Who's the most fun to be around on this team?
I'd probably say Aiden Sherrill. He's probably the funniest.
Really?
Yeah, he's pretty funny. Yeah.
Freshman?
Yeah, Big Sherrill, yeah.
All right. What is it about him? What's he got? Has he got jokes? He got impersonations?
Yeah, he got jokes, you know. Is this basketball player called Earl the Pearl.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and he always joke around like, Earl the Pearl is just, he only played this amount of seasons, this and that, and, you know, that's his favorite.
That's his
favorite
guy?
word. Yeah, Earl the Pearl.
All right, I'm going to have to start calling him that then. It has been an honor to watch you and looking forward to 9 more games. Thank you, Mark. Appreciate you so much. Mark Sears with us here at Baumhower's Victory Grill. This
Phylon at 6, Phylon at 5, over to Sears at 3, Sears at 2, at 1 for the win. Ball game, ball game, ball game. Bama wins. Let's get out of here. Alabama a winner. 93-91 is your final in overtime, and the tide rises. It beats Thomas Auburn in the regular season finale.
Hi, I'm Keon Saab, and you're watching Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR.
There is nothing like Sweet Home Talladega. Don't miss out on NASCAR's return to Talladega Superspeedway on April 27th for the Jack Links 500. This is more than racing. This is Talladega. Purchase your tickets today at TalladegaSuperspeedway.com. We look forward to seeing what's ahead for Mark Sears and the Crimson Tide coming up in the SEC tournament that for Alabama will begin late on Friday night. Let's go ahead and take a look at our upcoming schedule. A busy weekend coming up of Alabama athletics here on the Crimson Tide Sports Network. Don't forget there will be a new episode of Tide TV this week to our TV affiliates all across the state coming up tomorrow, as well as available on demand on RolledTide.com. Then 6 p.m. is the start time for both baseball and softball tomorrow evening. The softball team hosting Mississippi State. Keep your eye out this weekend for a softball booth camp presented by MLB The Show 25. We look forward to having that, weather permitting and just kind of schedule permitting for the Crimson Tide softball team. We know there's some inclement weather in the forecast in Tuscaloosa. The baseball team should be on track to get all these games in as scheduled. 6 p.m. against Texas A&M coming up on Friday. Don't forget, men's basketball will have the late game coming up on Friday night as well. I believe our airtime is going to be 7:30 across the network for hopefully as close to an 8:30 tip-off as we can have in men's basketball. Softball and baseball both at 2 o'clock coming up on Saturday as it's scheduled now. And then coming up on Sunday, softball at 1:30. The baseball team will have a later window. They will start at 4 o'clock Central with the game being televised on the SEC network. And don't forget, men's basketball, we could be seeing them in the semifinals on Saturday and the championship game on Sunday at the SEC tournament. Just follow us for the latest broadcast details there. Then coming up on Monday, we'll talk about it with Hey Coach, a St. Patrick's Day edition of Hey Coach coming up at 6 p.m. from Baumhower's as Nate Oates will preview what's ahead for men's basketball in the NCAA tournament. Plenty of clips coming out as well, not just from Crimson Drive with some of the interviews we've had, but also some of our highlights over the weekend. Just follow us at UA_CTSN for the very latest on the Crimson Tide. It's going to wrap up this edition of Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. Huge thank you to our guest, Brennen Norton, who started the show in a really strong way with that interview at the Advantage Center. Blake Byler as well from On3 and BamaOnLine. We appreciate him. We appreciate Lexi Graber setting up that interview as well with Brennen Norton. Lexi does a great job with our NIL office and doing a great job as well. Ethan Caravan, who produced that interview and produces and directs all of this show, Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. For everybody at the Crimson Tide Sports Network, this is Roger Hoover saying thank you for watching this Thursday edition, Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. Now let's go have a winning weekend of Alabama athletics. Roll Tide, everyone.